Hello and welcome back to Lesson 3, Building a Financial Moat. And why is this important? What is a moat? It is a deep ditch around either a castle or fort or a building or even a town that's either filled with water, sometimes it's dry and very deep, and it provides a preliminary line of defense when somebody's attacking you. And what we're doing with a moat around your finances is essentially, if you are in a lawsuit, your assets could be unjustly taken from you. So a lawsuit can happen just from an accident, a car accident, or somebody has an accident on your property. And it might be that they are just trying to get the insurance company money for medical reasons, but sometimes the lawyers get involved and the insurance companies don't want to pay. So it gets a little messy sometimes. So we just want to make sure, having your advocate, make sure that we have the right kind of legal paperwork and insurance around all your assets that you have now and what you're going to get in the future, so that they're not unjustly taken from you. There's all kinds of insurance from insurance companies like life and property and casualty and even annuities. And again, ask your advocate what's right for you specifically. But with life insurance, there are some neat ways to be able to save for the future where you can have like tax-free income later. So it also wraps up with insurance. No lawsuits can get onto that. And I have a couple of books. If you enjoy reading and want to learn more about finances, one of them is called The Power of Xero. And The Power of Xero really, it's a very nice little short read and packed with tables and contents. And this was written by David McKnight. So if you enjoy reading about that kind of thing, that shows the power of Xero, of having zero income tax later in life, will help you not have taxes on your Social Security and other income that you might have if you have rental income, etc. So the other one I highly recommend is The Retirement Miracles. So if you're fairly young or you want to give this to kids or grandkids, this one's a very good read as well. And it essentially has the same concept of saving for the future so that you can have not only tax-free income, but also an insurance wrapper around it with a death benefit, and then also protection from lawsuits. The other thing that you need to look into with an estate planning attorney or a good advocate who understands trusts, because trust is essentially a legal document that states who you want to manage and distribute your assets if you're unable to do so, so mentally not able to do so, or if you've had an accident and you're unconscious, etc., and who receives them when you pass away. Having one helps communicate your wishes so your loved ones aren't left guessing or dealing with the courts. We kind of talked about that a little bit earlier. And some states, like Texas and some other states, have it so that if your assets are in a trust, then they are protected from lawsuits. So again, ask your advocate if whatever state you're in, does the trust help protect from lawsuits? Another kind of a beyond just trusts here in the United States is something that not very many people know about, and it's called a bridge trust. And a bridge trust is something where if a trust can be in the United States for the right kind of lawsuit, there is the concept of piercing the veil is what they call it. It's a legal term, but essentially if really well-to-do people can put everything in a trust and it could never be in a lawsuit, and they do something really egregious, meaning they on purpose hurt people and they can't be sued, there's something that's called piercing that veil. For the right reason, they can have assets being taken and given to somebody who's been harmed by the owner. And because of that piercing of the veil, so with construction companies, many times there can be unjust lawsuits and lawyers may be overzealous in wanting to get even more money out of owners of construction companies, even though they might have a trust in place and insurance. This bridge trust allows the owner, if they have the bridge trust in place, and they're going to have an unjust lawsuit on them, they can enable this bridge trust to happen. And what it is the assets would actually be held in another jurisdiction in another country. And this is truly legal. And there are companies that I know of that I can introduce you to who can do that. If you are indeed like a business owner who has the possibilities of lots of unjust lawsuits, kind of like construction companies, or famous or individuals who have a lot of notoriety where people will want to go and sue them as well unjustly. So a bridge trust is something for a very select group of people, but can be very, very helpful. Now, in thinking about in the insurance side, there's the life insurance that we talked about, but also long-term care and disability. And long-term care can be very, very important. There's a client that I had in California. She had lots of money. She didn't really, she could have utilized the money that she and her husband had saved to pay for long-term care in case she needed it. And long-term care is really something that Medicare doesn't pay for. Medicaid will only pay for a little bit, and that's for facilities that take care of you, or nurses who come into the house to take care of you if you can't do, 2 or 3 or 4 things on daily living, like feeding yourself or clothing or going to the bathroom or brushing teeth, etc. When there's a point where you can't do that and you need help, then you need to pay somebody to help you do that. That's considered long-term care. Some people might have to use long-term care even when they're young. They might have had a bicycle accident and hit their head, and they need help for a year or 2, but they get better. So long-term care isn't just for when we get really, really old. And there's the lady in California I was telling you about who said, I have plenty of money, and that money could be used for the home health or a care facility, but I never want my kids, who love me dearly and would never have a problem with utilizing this money, but my kids might think just for a second, wow, this money could be an inheritance and we have to spend it on mom. And she said, they would spend it on me, but I don't want them to ever even have that moment of feeling guilty about thinking this could be our money and I have to spend it on mom. So she just bought some simple long-term care insurance. It wasn't very expensive. And sure enough, she actually did need it in a big way. She had dementia, and they actually had enough insurance where she could go into the memory care facility and not just the regular one. And memory care is kind of, I would almost say it's like a kindergarten where there's coloring and there's music and activities, and it does cost quite a bit for someone in the California area, and they had the insurance for it. So she was taken care of. The insurance paid for that, and her kids got all of the assets that was saved up by her and her husband that after she had spent what she needed to on her living. So it's a great gift that you might want to think about with your advocate. And again, all of these concepts that I just talked about, make sure that what you're getting is right for you and your situation. So get an advocate that you trust and help out. And I look forward to seeing you at our next lesson.